with the talented Brighton striker on the agenda, it's a perfect time for Glenn Murray to make his Generation XG debut. Plenty of insight to come from Glenn and from Leroy Rossignol. As usual, Leroy's waiting to hear from you.
Thanks, Leon. Do you know what? I really want to hear from Arsenal Man United fans. You know what? I thought it was an even game. I thought United were a little bit unfortunate. But what did you think? Get in touch using the hashtag PLFans.
Thank you, Leroy. Well, Glenn, welcome to the show, first and foremost. We're going to go straight into the action, that game at the Emirates. What did you make of it?
Well, a historic rivalry, and I think it lived up to the bill, especially with the finish.
It was a pretty incredible, pretty intense game. Well, let's have a look at how the teams lined up, how the team started. Both managers made at least a change. Arsenal made 3, Manchester United made 1, and Mikel Arteta sent his side out. Ramsdale in goal, as expected. That regular back 4, I think, from last season. Gabriel replacing Kiwior at the back. Havertz alongside Odegaard and Rice in midfield. And then Nketiah was preferred up front over Trossard at the top of the pitch. And for Manchester United, there was one change for Erik ten Hag's team. Onana started in goal. Lindelof came in for Varane to make up that back 4. Wan-Bissaka, Dalot were the fullbacks. Eriksen alongside Casemiro in midfield. Mason Mount still unavailable. Bruno Fernandes in that number 10 role. And it was Martial preferred at the top of the field. Both managers had ideas on how they thought the game would go, Glenn. The tactical setups that they tried to get out of it. Did you think both managers got what they tried out of the game?
Oh, well, I mean, when you look at it and the emotion's gone, I think Arteta will be the happier that his side sort of stamped their authority on the game for large parts. Manchester United, which we're going to look at, I think a little bit lost going forward. They don't quite seem to know what they are as a group yet. And I, for one, from the outside, struggle to see what Ten Hag's trying to do.
Yeah, well, I certainly agree with that. Well, let's have a look at the opening goal. I think it was a minute of mayhem, really, wasn't it? I mean, Manchester United tried to take the ball at the back. We'll just show what Manchester United, and I think with Onana in goal, they feel that they can play out from the back everywhere. I think they really trust him in goal. I think Arsenal, as you'd expect in the home game, and the way Mikel Arteta wants to play, their team are ready to try and press all over the field. And I think the build-up to this goal showed both sides of that.
Yeah, it did. And I think probably the early stages of the game, Onana was the best Manchester United player on the ball, which, unfortunately for Manchester United, speaks volumes. And when we can see him here, and for a large portion of the game, he was dictating Manchester United's play. Yeah,
he was. And, you know, he started, as we said, by giving the ball from the back. And at this moment, it's Lindelof who's took the ball. Arsenal in good positions. You can already see Odegaard ready to pounce. They're in good positions. But I think at this stage, Manchester United were encouraging the press. They were encouraging taking the ball at the back. They wanted Arsenal to come and press them. They wanted to try and play through that. And I think at the same time, I think Arsenal would have been delighted that Manchester United came and gave them the opportunity to press.
Yeah, and for me, Manchester United are almost in two different sides here, because they've got the defensive half and they're playing around. But my problem with this is that when I look at the front 3 of Manchester United, they're not actually showing for the ball, which shows a disconnect between the two banks of the side. Obviously, they're trying to suck Arsenal in, and when you're trying to suck a team in, it's to go beyond that press. But unfortunately, Man United's their strikers don't seem to be on the same page as their defence.
We'll certainly see that as we go through the show a little bit more. But at this point, I think Manchester United are okay taking the ball. I think they're not quite gambling it. I think Arsenal are delighted. I mean, this is Declan Rice gone all the way in to that position to squeeze the ball. Just he's followed the run, he's tracked it all the way in. Happy to be in that position. Because of it, Manchester United, you may say, have found a little bit of space in their bodies, but Arsenal still make it very difficult. And Nketiah gets that ball. Manchester United have to give it away. And in this moment, at this particular point, I think Mikel Arteta would have been applauding his team. I think he's saying, well done, you've all squeezed in. You've made this area of the pitch as small as possible, and we've won the ball back. Now let's go and play.
I mean, this is exactly why he wants to press high, to force that mistake, and eventually they do get that mistake. Havertz gets it under control, and I'm sure in this position, Leon, you wouldn't give the ball away, would you?
I would hope I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure if you look back, you'd have seen me give it away an awful lot in this position. But he's just trying to play this simple pass to Odegaard, and if he does, I think Odegaard gets turned, as he naturally does, and Manchester United are probably in trouble because Arsenal have got an overload. You can imagine Ben White getting up into this position. They've already got bodies up. Manchester United will be in trouble. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. This is a missed pass, a poor pass. And this man, Christian Eriksen, who's a clever footballer, is alive to it. And the fact he's able to see it, read it, suddenly, from that moment, now I'd say Arsenal are the team in trouble.
Yeah, definitely, and we can see that Arsenal, with that one movement, with his momentum going forward, he's taken 6 Arsenal players out of the game effectively, and now we can see Marcus Rashford just over here on Ben White's blind side. This is the pass, and this ultimately is what Manchester United want. They want to get Marcus Rashford isolated, going at his fullback and making things happen, which we've seen him do very well in recent weeks, especially against Nottingham Forest.
I agree. And I think under Erik ten Hag at the moment, I think in this area of the field, I think they're learning how to play out from the back. They've got a new goalkeeper who wants to take possession of the ball. They're trying to build up from the back to get themselves into these positions where they've got their strikers facing the opposition's goal in great positions. And this is what they're trying to build up and do. But they found themselves in this position with a turnover. And I think that's when they had most of their success last year, because as you mentioned, when you've got Christian Eriksen who can play a pass, and you've got Marcus Rashford in a foot race going that way, Ben White was particularly worried, wasn't he?
Yeah, I imagine he was terrified at this moment, because the last thing you need is Marcus Rashford running full pelt at you. But for me, in this situation here, we can see Arsenal, they have 2 men, right? And for me, I'm sure that Mikel Arteta is trying to break this down this morning, and I think he'll be quite comfortable with Marcus Rashford's position. They really want to show him this way onto his weaker foot. And all defenders will tell you that. Show him on the outside. It's killing his angle for a shot. The last thing you need to do is let him on his right foot. and this for me, Gabriel overcommits here for me.
Yeah.
If we just run it on a little bit.
You're saying it's this man, Gabriel. You think
Yes.
Ben White's in an okay position? This is Ben White. You think Ben White's in an okay position?
I'm happy with Ben White. He's shown Marcus Rashford down the line, and the worst case scenario, Marcus Rashford is going to get a shot of his left foot. If he beats the goalkeeper from that position, I'm looking at my goalkeeper. And as we just run it on, we can see...
Sorry, it was Saliba, not Gabriel.
Saliba, sorry,
I'm running on slightly just to show how quickly things can change in the Premier League.
So now we've got a problem.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, there's 2 defenders doing one defender's job. They're in a line together, and we can see Rashford already has got that ball on the outside of his right foot. All he wants to do is flick it back inside, and he's trying to open that goal up.
Yeah. Marcus Rashford's obviously just trying to get into that position.
I mean, you can see the gap. You can see the gap there that Ramsdale is allowing, which is right. He's in the right position, the goalkeeper. But the defending, if we just run it on slowly, we can just see here, Ben White's in the right. And I'm sure that Ben White, obviously, he hasn't had time to check his shoulder. So he's trusting that his centre half is aware of the situation, knows that he's the right back, he's the full back, and that he's going to show him down the narrow side. So Saliba should be aware of that and think, right, Ben's got that covered. If Marcus Rashford comes in, I'm going to block that area.
So Saliba should be in this position.
Yes.
Marcus Rashford should be coming onto Saliba, and Saliba should be down the line of that shot.
I mean, it looks like we've actually moved Saliba into Ben White's place here, because they're absolutely identical. And like I say, they're 2 men. They're doing one person's job here. And we see how the whole picture's changed, because all of a sudden, Marcus Rashford has got that yard. That's all he needs. It's on his right foot. And from this sort of position, he's deadly. We've seen him in this position so many times. As you run it on, Ramsdale does get a glove to it, but not quite enough. And all of a sudden, 27 minutes into the game, they're Manchester United's first touches in the box, by the way.
Yeah. Credit to Marcus Rashford. Let's give credit to Marcus Rashford.
To stay alive, but that speaks volumes to me. They were Manchester United's first touches in the opposition box. For them to score from that, Arteta will be disappointed.
This is something I just want to highlight. We all enjoy scoring goals. We used to celebrate. We used to enjoy scoring goals. We want to celebrate scoring goals, but After your team scored a goal, how did you get back to the halfway line? Or was there anything that went through your mind before the team kicked off again?
Well, I don't know if it was experience or age, but
Yeah.
I tried to get back there as slowly as possible. But that was because I knew that when I crossed that white line, it was kick-off time.
Yeah.
So I would maybe kneel down, do my boot up, have a conversation with someone, whatever, but just try and stall a little bit of time so that my centre-backs and my full-backs especially, because they've got the furthest to go after celebration, are back and in position. And I am almost... See, can we just run that back slightly there where Marcus Rashford was there? You can see Marcus Rashford. If anything, I would just stop there. Just to make sure that everyone's back.
This guy here.
Yeah.
Anthony Martial.
Yeah. Martial, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would be standing there 2 foot in the opposition's half just to make sure that everyone's back, everyone's set, and I'd almost wait for the referee to be like, Glenn, get onside.
Yeah.
And then I'd step back and we're ready to go, set.
The old saying is you're most vulnerable after you've scored the goal. Your managers always used to say you've conceded a goal, go win the ball back as quickly as possible. I didn't get that off Manchester United. I felt they were naive. They're not quite organised. Yes, they eventually just.
I mean,
about get into
right now,
position.
Bruno Fernandes is still applauding the away fans.
Yeah. I mean, the game goes on and they get into position, but I don't see them hunting for the ball.
No. And if there's any time you do want to go hunting, it's when you're in the ascendancy, and all of a sudden, they've found themselves in the ascendancy by hook or by crook. They're 1-0 up, and you think, let's take the game to Arsenal, but all of a sudden they're back sitting off.
Yeah, and Arsenal, under no pressure, trying to build themselves back into the game. Nketiah is key to this. Now and in a couple of moments' time, the way the positions he takes up and the way he drags both of these centre-halves at one point towards him. And it just seems to open up passing lanes. And I think people raised an eyebrow when Nketiah was named as starter. Trossard played in the last game. Jesus is on the bench. But he's definitely justified in his selection at the moment, Mikel Arteta.
Without doubt, and the thing with Eddie Nketiah for me is improving still. He's got a long way to go, and I really like what I'm seeing. And I actually feel that he's more of a natural 9 than Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, very quickly there, one great pass, Arsenal, straight from kickoff, 2v1 against Wan-Bissaka. We've got Nketiah in there, and Christian Eriksen is the man that's going to find himself with all sorts of problems at a moment. He's looking at Odegaard now. He can see him. He knows he's there, but he's going to get a big problem at the moment when Sandro Martinez goes chasing Eddie Nketiah.
And I think when we look at Martinez here, he's covered a lot of distance to go out to Nketiah, who's not in a dangerous place at all for me. I think he needs to stay in his position, but right there now, you can see Martinez has jumped out, and all of a sudden Eriksen...
That's the space you'd expect him to be.
That's the space, and then we can see that it's Eriksen here that all of a sudden has a decision to make.
Yeah.
Does he protect that vacated space, which is natural to do, protect your goal, or does he stay with Odegaard? Mm-hmm. And you've been in this position way more than me, so what do you do, Leon?
Well, in that position, you naturally want to defend that space. I know they'll say players are more dangerous than space, but it's just a natural instinct that if your centre-half comes out, you naturally want to cover. Dalot potentially could have done it or spoke to Eriksen and said, don't worry, I've got the position covered. But
then you've got Saka in acres of space.
As a midfielder, you find yourself just going into that position because it's a big space. And because of it, suddenly, beg your pardon, this guy's got space. And
too much of it.
If there was one player you don't want to give that much space just inside your own penalty area, I'd say he's right at the top of that list.
But my worry here for Manchester United is, I think this is their 2 centre-halves.
Yep.
Lindelof and Martinez.
Yep.
Now, all professional footballers will know that when you get dragged past your front post, there's a huge gap and there's massive problems. Yep. You always need to stay in the game, and unfortunately for Manchester United, both their centre-halves have been completely dragged out of position, and ultimately it leaves Eriksen with a decision to make. And these decisions are hard to make. It's milliseconds. I mean, you've just got to react. And I agree with you. I think he's got to go naturally back into that space, especially now they've got something to protect. They've got a 1-0 goal to protect. And all of a sudden, in a matter of minutes, I mean, it just opens up a huge space for Odegaard. And the last person I mean, one of the most stylish footballers in the league, the way he caresses the ball. The last person you want the ball laid back to and rolling onto his left foot is Odegaard, and he makes no mistake.
Yeah, just highlighted that box to show those defenders past the front post, and when that ball comes onto his foot, he's, as you mentioned, he's going to finish it. Brilliant goal, brilliant reaction from that Arsenal side to get themselves back into the game, because they'd had chances. They certainly did. They in the first half, I think Manchester United had more possession, but overall, Arsenal certainly had more possession. But it was the stats, when you look deeper into possession stats, that surprised me. I mean, United, 45% possession against Arsenal. Nothing crazy about that, but only 40% of those passes inside the opposition's half. When you look at that, the difference there for Arsenal, 66% of all their passes were in the Manchester United half. 42 of them were touches inside Manchester United. Arsenal were effective with their possession.
Well, I mean, you've highlighted 42 touches in the box there. Manchester United only had 19. Arsenal had more than double Manchester United had in the opposition box. So, I mean, that for me speaks volumes, but it also, we're going to look at it in a moment, but Manchester United keeping the ball at the back, that they're very much in transition under Ten Hag, and I find that quite incredible to stay, even though he's been in the job more than 12 months. So at the moment, we can see them keeping possession in their own half, but they don't seem linked to the forwards. There doesn't seem to be a clear understanding of everyone on the field, unfortunately.
Well, let's have a look. I agree. You know, he's had over a year at the football club. I think he came in and sorted attitudes last season, and he got them playing effectively at the top end of the field. I think he's now trying to get them developing from back to front. I think the signing of Onana shows that. But
can I just jump in there? Sorry, because I feel as though, very similar to last year, Marcus Rashford's goals papered over a lot of cracks at Manchester United, just like this first one did at Arsenal. Like I said, I don't think they were very good for the first 27 minutes. It was their first touch in the opposition box, and yet again, Marcus Rashford gets a sniff. I wouldn't even say it was an opportunity, and he makes amends. And I feel as though this man has got them out of so much trouble in the last year.
Oh, I couldn't disagree with that. But what I think Manchester United are trying to do is what a number of other clubs are doing at the moment. Manchester City in particular, they have a row of five, or they try to get a row of five at the top of the field. They have one wide man plays wide, one's a fullback. They have one of the fullbacks, it's Dalot on this occasion, who'll go into this pocket of space, and they mix it up. Dalot does it sometimes on the side, Wan-Bissaka does it on the other side, and they try to get simple passes into the wide men. And I just think that they know where to stand, and I think they get into this position, but unfortunately, I mean, look at the space. We'll see. They eventually get it to him at the moment. Look at this, 2v1 in these positions if they can get the ball. At the moment, they're not able to get the ball there quick enough. I say if they do, then work it really well. Fine, they've worked it, a lovely position. They've got what they wanted. They played through a mini press of Arsenal. What's next? What do these three players do next? I mean, Glenn, do you expect a run in behind?
Well, I mean, really, you want a mix, don't you?
Yeah.
So you want maybe one or two gambling in behind, stretching that back line and creating space for your number 10,
yeah,
and one showing. Like we've seen Liverpool do in the past, where you've got two wingers that gamble in behind and a Firmino that drops in.
Yeah.
That's changed now, of course, but that was quite iconic, what they did. So this is what Manchester United need to do. They need a runner and someone that's going to actually drop into the space created by the runner. But unfortunately, that's not what happens.
No, as you said, you'd expect maybe these kind of runs, and then, you know, you'll get this kind of rotation. It's as if they've worked on this part in training, but not quite sure what the next part is. They roll a short pass into midfield because they're not quite sure who's making which particular run, who's got responsibility for what, and because of it, they're then very exposed on the counter-attack. You mentioned Christian Eriksen before. He's the man, again, finds himself in a difficult centre-back position. And actually, they do really well not to concede here. Havertz should do better.
This time, he doesn't actually vacate the space and he stops that passing line. But yeah, I mean, Havertz, that's a golden opportunity, and I think he'll be one that is thanking his lucky stars that Arsenal actually won the game, because if not, that would have been rerun all week.
It certainly would. But just highlighting Wan-Bissaka at the moment, he's the guy who goes in to that position on this clip, and I think you do it. I've played in these games. You get your fullback out of the way.
Yeah.
To create this easy pass into the wide man, and into his feet.
And that is a really easy pass.
Yeah.
It's on, as you've highlighted there, it's so easy, it's on, Why are they not doing it?
I don't know, is the answer. But because they don't do it, they play themselves into trouble by coming backwards, and we'll see more of them playing themselves into trouble at the moment. Their other problem is the player they've now... I mean, they've got Casemiro playing what is a wonderful pass, right, into this position, which is exactly where you want the ball. We've now got 2v1 in this position. We've also got Bruno Fernandes, I think it is, in the pocket, making maybe 3v2 in that position. We've got numbers at the top end of the field as well. Can you get hold of it? Can you turn? Can you make something happen for your team? Unfortunately, the player they've now got in that position is a player who's not very comfortable in that position.
Yeah, and I feel for Wan-Bissaka, because I think he's done really well in the Manchester United shirt. He's actually resurrected his career at Manchester United, but his characteristics don't suit the position he's in the field at the moment. And you can tell that by the way he tries to play it round the corner, and he has no awareness that the defender is nowhere near him.
Oh, and they give the ball away. Arsenal managed to start a counter-attack again. Highlight Anthony, because he's definitely worth keeping your eye on in this clip. Also, this man down here, it's Diego Dalot. You see they've got the width, one fullback, one wide man, and they have many opportunities to play this ball into the wide areas. And just, if you see the body language, just run it on slowly. They could have played that wide there. Wan-Bissaka's there. Could you have opened your body up and played it wide? He could, but at no point did he open his body up.
And the pass is on, but it's not even a dangerous pass, because if he gets closed down, he just comes back out. It's so safe. So they're obviously manoeuvring themselves into these positions. I just can't understand why the ball's not going in.
It is a surprising. Just want you to look at these players here. If you're Arsenal players and you're a midfielder or a striker playing against an opposition, and you don't have to work very hard, you're delighted, aren't you? Manchester United don't make this midfield of Arsenal work that hard.
No, I think you can see Arsenal here. They're sat in a 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2, whatever way you want to look at it. But they're happy. They're not really moving. They're shuffling side to side. And the last thing you want as a defending team is to have to run, especially as a defender. And through all these clips, Leon, the back four hasn't moved. And that is the worrying thing for Manchester United. They're not stretching that back four, therefore not creating any space.
Well, you're right. I mean, they do eventually go wide. Dalot has to come deep. That's fine. Go and use the width, move the opposition.
The problem is that he's had to come so far back to receive it.
Okay, can we switch it the other side? You see Wan-Bissaka, who's gone into that position to create the space at the top end of the field. You can't really see it.
But even if there is understanding, Dalot's made a run here and he's actually in because Ben White has went in with Rashford. But still...
Well, that's what you see. You do that so that now you can maybe... Can you get the ball into Rashford, because Ben White's had to drop away on Dalot? There's so many rotations and movements within a structure that I think Manchester United are getting them. They're not quite sure what to do next. Lindelof, can you... Martial's come deep. Wan-Bissaka's gone up top. There's your options. Play the pass.
Yeah, or bounce it in to the player and he'll bounce it out to the right back. I mean, we see that quite often where a player shows to bounce it out, but even that, they maybe it's a confidence issue. Maybe they're worried. But at this stage of the game, it's 1-1 and they're still in the game. You think they would be trying to be a bit more adventurous?
Well, they're not. Turning down the passes, slow in play, going sideways, refusing the passes, and then suddenly you give the opposition an opportunity to pressure and force you backwards and make it difficult for you.
But I mean, in all fairness, Arsenal didn't have to work for Manchester United to find themselves back at the goalkeeper there. Arsenal be absolutely delighted, sat in their shape, and eventually Manchester United go back.
Keep the eye on the body language of Anthony here. He knows he's not getting the ball. The ball should now be coming wide. The ball should now be coming wide. And Maguire doesn't even open his body up to look. It goes back that way. Look at Anthony again.
Yeah, arms on his hips.
Hands on his hips, down. Knows the ball's not coming.
And this body language can spread through a changing room as well. It's not good to have it like this.
But because of that, I mean, and I'm going to criticise him. I feel sorry for him to start with, but I'm criticising him here. You can't lose that mentality, because you might be involved at any point. Because look, because he's sulking, because he's now offside, if he'd have been in this position, what could have happened? But his head's gone, he's not getting the ball, he's sulking a little bit, and Manchester United had this problem time after time during this game, and Arsenal just found it far too easy to defend against Erik ten Hag's team.
Yeah, far too easy, and once you get players, you've got 11 players out there, once you get one with his head dropped and annoyed that he's not getting the ball, then it's a slippery slope from that point on.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's talk corners, how Arsenal won the game, just to show that, as we highlight it here, there's corners from this side of the pitch. For the majority, 60% of all corners Arsenal have taken this season, they've aimed for the front post area. They made a complete change in this game.
Well, hence why we can see Manchester United set up at the front post.
So, Manchester United, I just want to show how they set up against Nottingham Forest last week. Man on the front, 3 men zonal, 1 man on line with the back post zonal, and Wan-Bissaka there is marking the guy, the goalkeeper. Then you have the rest on the edge for Anthony, and 3 guys picking up the pack. Now, this seems to be how Manchester United just want to defend set pieces. They don't look at the opposition, maybe. They don't think about, how the opposition may be a threat. They don't react within games because they have their setup. The managers give them the setup, and that's it. Guy in the post, Bruno Fernandes front post. There's your players in there picking up, and there's your man at the far post. And Arsenal know.
In all fairness, this is early on in the game.
Yep.
So they've gone there with the plan. Their analysts worked all week on this, and they are expecting Arsenal to attack the front post. So
okay.
we can give them grace early on in the game because they're protecting what they think Arsenal are going to attack.
Okay. Well, as you've seen, Arsenal line up at the far post. Clever. They know there's only so many markers. We've got outnumbered. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll run a few of them across the front post. See what happens, because they can't mark everybody. So as we see, run them across the front post. Look at that. Arsenal, 3 players at the back. All able to go and attack the ball against a static defender, which Glenn, is a dream for a striker.
Yeah, for me, when you come up against a team that marks zonally, it's brilliant because everyone's looking at the ball. It gives you a chance to get a good run on your marker, get on his blind side and get up above him and power a header just before he even gets the jump.
Again, here, Arsenal going far post. United still having a lot of bodies at the front that don't really matter. Arsenal having all these players at the back. You see Declan Rice, the eventual goal scorer late on, in that position.
So that grace that we gave them at the top of this little shot here, now I feel as though Arsenal need to start Manchester United need to start communicating and saying the danger at the back post as a group of players. So I think this is second half now.
Yeah, it is.
So we've had half time. We've had the manager speak to us. We've had analysts analysing the game. How that's not been highlighted, and then you've got to look at the players. The players need to say, look, all the business is going to the back post. We need to release some players back there to stop that happening because it's happened 3, 4, 5 times already in the game. But there's just a lack of communication.
It is. There was communication and reaction. I mean, they go short on this one, create this opportunity for this shot at the edge of the penalty area. And again, in case you're wondering, there's Declan Rice,
number
completely
41.
unmarked, number 41, down the far post. Manchester United not dealing with it, happy to try and...
I mean, Declan Rice at this point in the game must be thinking, surely they're going to pick me up at some point.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is the winning goal. I mean, we'll just keep repeating ourselves. Look at all these Manchester United bodies in there. Johnny Evans has been on the pitch 10 minutes. He's found himself 3v1 at the back post at a set-piece corner kick.
The exact situation you don't need to find yourselves at 35 years old in your second debut for the club.
No, not at all. So, very unfortunate from his point of view, but not from Arsenal's. They eventually take advantage of the situation that they created time and time again.
Even there, I just want to run it back because when we can see that Manchester United are just in a line of defenders. I mean, no one's even... He's definitely not going to go to the back post, is he? They need to try and block that near post, but unfortunately, they don't. Declan Rice scores in injury time, and they're the moments you live for.
Well, let's have a walk over to Leroy. Have a chat. Leroy, you think Manchester United should have learnt from that set piece?
Oh, definitely. It's all the time. Glenn loved the far post. I love the far post, and people love to go and attack the far post. That's where a lot of goals are scored from. But they didn't learn it, and it cost them. But I just wanted to just make a point of I hate it when defenders don't take responsibility. I absolutely hate it. Do you know when they run up and play offside and they don't take responsibility? Sometimes I prefer them defend instead of running up with your arm up, asking for an offside. But I have to say, on this occasion, Gabriel got it absolutely spot on. And this was a decisive moment in the game. I'm just going to play it. It's the Garnacho disallowed goal. I'm just going to play it at normal pace here. And as Arsenal lose possession of the ball, I'm just going to pause it here. You'll see Gabriel just here, just in his own half. And as it gets played forward, I'm going to play it at half pace because he has a decision to make. Because you think, OK, he's in a decent position now. But as Casemiro gets the ball, I'm going to pause it there. Now he's got to make a decision. And I don't think he can get there. He's recognised that Garnacho, who is quick, is gone. Yeah. He's gone. Now he's got to make a decision. And what he does really well, he makes the decision early. I'll play it very slowly. He makes the decision early, and he does it with real positivity.
I love his body shape, straight up like a pencil.
Exactly. And do you know what? And that was the key, because, you know, when we play this forward and we show how fine margin it was, I'm just going to highlight him here because he actually made a little jump, and that was the key. He actually jumped back. And I just thought it was a terrific decision and the right decision. And that's what won Arsenal the game, Glenn. I really do think that. So great defending. And in a way, took responsibility, and he did it, and he played offside with real aplomb. This was really positive as well. I mean, Hojlund came on, and I thought it was decent, Glenn. I thought he looked great, he looked aggressive, and he held the ball up, and he got United up the pitch. I thought much better than Martial, who didn't really get a kick of the ball. But, Glenn, I just wondered, what was Casemiro's attitude towards him here? Is he happy with him, or is he unhappy with him? What is this? Is this how you celebrate? It's not I sometimes do that to Leon after his show. Did you used to do that as a player?
Do you know what? I think that's Casemiro saying thank you. Taking a bit of pressure off us, just getting us up the field, being that platform, that physical point that we can play off. Yeah. And it's him thanking the young man because they haven't had it for so long.
Absolutely. So, Leon, when I get you by the scratch,
position maintenant. Alors que se passe-t-il? Le buteur Hakim Ziyech est resté au sol.